Kush Klubs was created to solve a problem that exists right now. So let's understand the challenges the cannabis industry faces so we can tell you why we did what we did and how we're going to benefit the industry. So California is a market, it's roughly 14.88% or thereabouts that consume cannabis. LA County is the #1 most populated county in California. California is the #1 most populated state in the US. So that would actually tell you that LA County is probably the #1 county in the United States for cannabis. However, did you know that 80% of the market is still in the black or illicit market, meaning that 80% of cannabis consumers still prefer to go to the illicit market to get their product. That could be in the form of unregulated and unlicensed dispensaries, all the way down to your local dealer. And if there are roughly 600,000 cannabis consumers in LA County that are frequenting licensed dispensaries, that would mean if 20% equals 600,000, then 80% would equal over 2 million. There are another 2 million people that are frequenting unlicensed and illegal operations. And the #1 reason that somebody chooses to go into and frequent an illicit market is price. The licensed and legal market cannot compete with the illicit market because of pricing. The taxation alone is an inhibitor for the licensed market to compete with the illicit market. So challenge #1 for any dispensary or any supply chain that's in the licensed market is they have to contest with the illicit market as their competition, which owns 80% of that pie. So that would mean 20% of that pie is being shared between the licensed market. So for example, LA County has roughly 188, give or minus, dispensaries right now. They share roughly 600,000 cannabis consumers. So that would tell you the average dispensary has probably a 3,000 membership base. Some have more, some have less, but you kind of get the idea. They're sharing from that same pie. As more dispensaries are added, for example, the social equity program that operates in California just awarded 100 licenses to dispensaries in LA County to social equity applicants to open dispensaries in LA County. The first 100 have been granted. So that would take 188 to 288. So now that 188 that was sharing that 20% of the pie now has to share that with another 100 people. So what does that do to them? Because they can't penetrate into the black market or illicit market. They can't penetrate into the illicit market because of pricing to compete. So now their pie becomes less and less and less and less. And it's the same thing throughout the supply chain. But the reason we partnered with dispensaries to begin with is they are the forward-facing, consumer-facing company or supply chain partner that is interfacing with a consumer. The manufacturers, the cultivators, and the distributors all have to use the retailers to sell their products to the end user, to the customers. In addition to that, the dispensaries are at the greatest risk because the dispensaries are sharing a limited amount of people and they are competing against each other and competing against the illicit market. And it's completely unfair advantages and an unfair playing field that they find themselves in. However, that being said, this is an explosive industry that has huge upside, huge growth potential, a multi-billion-dollar industry globally. But in order to compete within that landscape, they have to create mechanisms so that their dispensary can garner and get as much clients as they can. Problem #1 is increased traffic. Because a dispensary has a limited amount of customers that already they can pull from, and they're competing with other people for that limited amount of consumers. And that pie keeps getting smaller because more dispensaries are opening up. And in addition to that, they can't penetrate into the larger pie of 80% because they cannot compete with the illicit market because of price. That's an inherent challenge that every dispensary faces right now. And it only is going to get worse until now. And again, I'll go into it a little bit after of what Kush Klubs is and how we solve that problem. Problem number 2, frequency. Statistically, the average consumer frequents a dispensary once every 17 days. That's only 1.5 times a month. So a dispensary in and of itself doesn't get to interface with that customer frequently. And let's say that a dispensary varies. Some dispensaries see a consumer 2, 3, 4, 5 times a month. It takes a lot more to create loyalty. If a customer is only coming to you once or twice a month, it's very hard for you to actually create loyalty with that customer. Now, that customer may be frequenting other dispensaries that you have no idea about because you have no access to that data. But frequency of a customer is a huge problem because you need that frequency to increase loyalty. Problem number 3, loyalty. If you don't have a customer coming frequent to you and you can't create a relationship with that customer, and most of the market are loyal to price, and you already are excluding 80% of that market share, and the 20% that you have left, you're not seeing them frequently enough to garner that loyalty with them, then how do you increase loyalty to do the 4th thing, which is increase revenue? So we realized that the main problems with these dispensaries are the ability for them to increase traffic, increase frequency, increase loyalties, and increase revenues. So we sought out to create a solution that offered them that. And that's basically